All right, good morning. I'd like to welcome you to my lightning talk on atomic design. My name is John Wade. I am a product designer here at the Coop, and I'm working on the t.ux project. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do an introduction to atomic design. We're going to explain what is atomic design, and then I'm going to show an example from our design library. Please keep in mind that atomic design is a huge topic. This is supposed to be a 5-minute lightning talk, so it's going to be a very high-level discussion. I'm not going to really try and get into the weeds. However, just kind of introduce it and kind of encourage you to go out there and do your own research on it after this lightning talk. So Brad Frost is the individual that wrote the book Atomic Design. He's really been the advocate, or he's the one that's really been pushing to make atomic design a system that it really exists out there in the world. Essentially, what he came up with and the reasoning for it is color, typography, grids, textures, and the like will always be subjective. Atomic design focuses on what our interfaces are comprised of and how we can construct design systems in a more methodical way. What he's saying, and even his own quote says, that it's a mental model for thinking about user interface in a systematic and hierarchical way. That's the goal, to start thinking about how your components, your nested components, build on other components. So atomic design is a methodology composed of 5 distinct stages working together to create interface design systems in a more deliberate and hierarchical manner. The 5 stages of atomic design are atoms, molecules, organism, templates, and pages. Atoms, molecules, and organisms imply a hierarchy that anyone with a basic knowledge of chemistry can hopefully wrap their head around. Like Russian nesting dolls, little components are included in bigger components, which are included in even bigger components, which eventually create entire screens. That's the basic extent of it. If atoms are the building blocks of matter, then the atoms of our interface serve as the foundational building blocks that comprise all of our user interfaces. These atoms include basic HTML elements like form labels, inputs, buttons, and others that can't be broken down any further without ceasing to be functional. Atoms demonstrate all your base styles at a glance, which can be a helpful reference to keep coming back to as you develop and maintain your design system. Kind of think of them as little Legos. With that, you move on to molecules. Molecules are a relatively simple group of UI elements functioning together as a unit. For example, a form label, a search input, and a button can join together to create a search form molecule. Just like in chemistry, we can combine the same atoms in different ways to create unique molecules for our design, though at this stage, the groupings are relatively simple. A very simple, straightforward molecule is just taking a button and then adding an icon to it, and then you have a very basic molecule. From there, we have organisms. Organisms are a relatively complex UI component that is composed of groups of molecules and/or atoms and/or organisms. These organisms form distinct sections of an interface. For example, we have a module here from t.ux. It's a combination of several different atoms and molecules to form one interface. We've got the login, we've got text buttons, we've got form fields, and then we have also just buttons. From that, we move on to templates. Templates are the blueprint for our finished page designs. They are page-level objects that place components into a layout and articulate the design's underlying content structure. We can take the header organism and apply it to the homepage template. So templates are kind of like lower fidelity. When they start out, usually you don't have a lot of colors in them. Usually they're in grayscale. They have fake information. It's just to give you an idea of where everything will lay out. We move on from there to pages. Pages are the highest level of fidelity where we test the effectiveness of our design system. Pages are specific instances of templates that show what a UI looks like with real representative content in place. And that's the important part, real representative content. Atomic design is not a linear process though. You'll probably spend most of your time on a page. That's because you can see everything. But when you're thinking in a manner that works with atomic design, you will look to be breaking down that page into different parts. Atomic design allows us to zoom out and see our design as a whole, and then zoom back in to work on the individual components. Now, an example from the t.ux design library. What we've got here is a button with an icon and then an icon itself. I'm going to zoom in so you can see the differences between the icon and why I'm using it as an example. As you can see, the icons are slightly different. Now, with that, they're not consistent. But this isn't to say which icon is better than the other. This is to say that there's not enough of a design difference to justify having both icons. With atomic design, when you build a button with an icon, you would look at the icon library first, and then you would add that icon to the button. Or say that you are building icons and the buttons were already made. You can go back to the button, you can pull that icon, and you can add it to your icon page. That way, they stay consistent. The benefits of this is A, it looks better, and B, it saves time. There's not enough of a design difference to really spend that much time on making a second icon. And then think of it from a developer standpoint. They have to go in and they have to code that second icon as well. And is it really worth their time to do that? So again, it's just keeping that in mind. Please remember, though, that atomic design is not a rigid dogma. Atomic design as a buzzword encapsulates the concepts of modular design and development, which becomes a useful shorthand for convincing stakeholders and talking with colleagues. But atomic design is not a rigid dogma. This is from Brad Frost. Ultimately, whatever taxonomy you choose to work with should help you and your organization communicate more effectively in order to craft an amazing UI design system. He further goes on to state that it doesn't matter what you call atoms. It doesn't matter what you call molecules. It doesn't matter what you call organisms. You just want to use a language that instantly conveys hierarchy. That way you can get the benefits of atomic design. But he uses those because most people understand those very, very quickly. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining me with my lightning talk today. If you'd like to find out more, please feel free to leave questions underneath, and I will be more than happy to share my reference or my resources.